So welcome to joining us tonight. Let me over to the right one here. Sorry about that. My name is Ginger Williams-Carr. If you have questions, we want you to engage with us. So please click on the Q&A, and one of us will be kind of checking it while the other one is speaking. This evening, we have our student success. Student success is going to start this evening, and then I'm going to come on and do admissions next steps, and then we will have a Q&A at the end. So I'm going to turn it over to Ashley Moore with the Center for Student Success, and we'll get started.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here tonight. So my name is Ashley Moore, and I work for the Center for Student Success. I'll talk a little bit more about my role, but as an academic success coach and learning community coordinator, we are here to kind of provide support through your first year and then your time here at the Newark campus to make sure you're successful inside and outside the classroom. And tonight, I'll be talking a little bit more about how we can do that through our office. So again, we are the Center for Student Success. Under our office, we have two different departments. So I specifically work for the one on the left, which is our Retention Student Success Initiatives office. It's a big fancy word, but you can think of retaining students in the university, and we do that through success initiatives. So whether that's through programming, outreach, checking in with students one-on-one through appointments. And then our other department that we work with is our academic support services. So each of those have kind of their own unique things that they work on students with, and that, we provide services to be able to support you. So first, I'm going to go and talk a little bit more about what my office specifically does. To give you a little bit of background information on me, I've worked for the Office of Retention and Student Success Initiative since 2021. And then even before that, I worked as a student academic peer coach through 3 years in my undergrad because I'm an OSU-Newark alumni. I became really passionate about student success, so I decided to return and kind of work on, with students one-on-one to make sure that they're accomplishing goals that they set during their time at the Newark campus. So our mission is to make sure that you guys have the support that you need inside and outside the classroom because we know if things are happening outside the classroom, like your car breaks down, it makes it impossible, to get to campus unless you have other transportation. So we're making sure we're providing resources for you so you can do well academically as well, and support for you on campus. So academic success coach. So I mentioned that as my role. I specifically work with our learning communities on campus, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But we work with students one-on-one, or even sometimes in a group setting through workshops. And what we do is we make sure that you have an individualized success plan that is specific to what's going on with you, inside the classroom, outside the classroom, and helping you gain tools and resources and connections on campus so that way you feel like you're getting the best experience while you're here. And that way also, if you do choose, depending on your major, to go to the Columbus campus, you have that smoother transition. You've already basically had that like foundation at the Newark campus that you've allowed yourself to become a successful learner. So I mentioned student success workshops, but that's one of our ways that we engage with students on campus. So we have them every month, and they range from a variety of topics that students have shared that are important for them. So some of those are time management, which I will say is one of our biggest things that we notice incoming students struggling with is going from high school where your classes are planned out, you have expectations on when things are due, and you might have homework due, a few times a week, versus when you come to college, your schedule is very spread out, which you'll see, when you schedule at orientation. So it feels like you have more time, but for every credit hour, you should be spending about 3 hours outside of class, planning, prepping, studying, attending tutoring, and all of those things to make sure you're successful in that class. We work with students with defeating procrastination, which is another big topic, balancing priorities. A lot of you might be more dependent on as far as like your own finances and your personal well-being if you're, away from home, and a lot of those other things. And then we have academic outreach. So our office, we will have faculty send them to us, if they might be concerned about things that are going on, or it could be, maybe they've had a few bad exams. So we can then reach out to them early and make sure they're building those skills and they have the resources to know, maybe it's a course that we have to reconsider, or, how can we turn it around and make sure that you get your grades up so that way you're successful in that class. So what we do to make sure that you're helped. We ask a few questions. So, how can we help you be prepared with your classes? How do you create an academic success plan? And if you got a bad exam grade or a final paper grade or whatever it is, what's the next step? What resources are there for you on campus? I mentioned some of those answers in my last slide, but going through each of those, it helps, when you're coming to our office, I like to see us as kind of a one pit shop. Like when you don't know the answer where to go, you can come to our office, and we kind of help between like personal and more of like, I would say an advising type role, but not fully one or the other, and meeting you kind of where you need and pointing you in those directions. So this is our office and our team. So Jamie White, who is on the left in the first photo, that is our director. She's great. She has her hands in almost all parts of campus and is very knowledgeable. So she's a great resource and a mentor for our office. And then I'm right there in the middle. Like I mentioned, I've worked with our department since 2021 and our learning communities since even before that when I was a student employee. And then Macy is one of our newer academic success coach. She started in a temporary role and just was recently hired for a full-time position. So she'll be overseeing some of those learning communities with me because we're continuing to grow them since they've been successful. And then down at the bottom, we have Stephanie and then Corinne Gonzalez. So both of them are academic success coaches as well. All of us, we have our own specialties. So with Macy and I, we both oversee the learning communities on campus and meet with students, even, not in a learning community for success appointments. Stephanie does a lot of our workshops, and then Corinne right now oversees a lot of our probation and alert systems. So I mentioned that Macy and I work with our learning communities. We have 7 currently on campus. The photos on here don't include all of them because we do have 2 new additional ones that we'll need to include. But we have our Buckeye Generation learning community, so that I will talk a little bit more about, as well as like our Scarlet and Gray Excellence, our engineering learning community, education, teaching, and learning, our Global Citizens learning community, and then our STEM M and business. If you joined us on our last presentation over learning communities, you learned a little bit more, but I'll kind of talk more about them just because our deadline's coming up on May 1st. So through each of our learning communities, what they are cohorts that students can apply to be in based off their background, interest, and major. It's one of our retention programs on campus, but it's also something that we've had a lot of success on, and other colleges have had a lot of success with as well, because we know through the connections that they're building, the professional development, the peer mentoring that they receive, they have higher GPAs and graduation rates compared to those that aren't starting a learning community. So if you're eligible for any of the ones that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, I definitely recommend considering applying before our May 1st deadline. We are currently going to be checking applications, we're answering emails and making sure that we can find the best fit for you, and that you're starting out somewhere where you're going to have that faculty, staff, and peer support. So our expectations with students, and I say it says expectations, but what I'm thinking more is like it's a lot of benefits for you. So students in a learning community, they do take courses throughout the year together. I do get a lot of questions on, are these courses going to take me away from graduation? Are these courses something that I don't need for my major? What happens if I take a course, if one of the courses that you offer does not fit into my schedule for like my specific major? And I can answer all of those. The courses that you're going to be taking are all GE required courses. So most of these GEs are going to fulfill most majors. In rare conditions, there are sometimes a major specific course that interferes with our specific course, and we do make accommodations so that way you can still be in the learning community, but you're not technically in that specific course. With our courses, we know that you're going to have that faculty support because we work one-on-one with the faculty that oversee the GE. And we also make sure that, you have all of the other students in the learning community within that program. So you're seeing the same students in at least 2 of your courses per semester. So you're building those connections and making friendships a lot quicker while you're on campus. We also have our arts and science course. So that is the one that I oversee, and then that Macy will oversee. Those do take place in the fall and spring semester. And how I like to describe that course, because sometimes it sounds a little confusing with the title arts and sciences, but we describe it as if you've ever been involved in some sort of group, organization, club, or whatever extracurricular activity, you usually have some sort of required meeting time. To be able to fit into everyone's schedule and make sure, that they're getting something out of it outside of all the workshops and things that we do within that class, we give you a credit and we have it scheduled within there. So you can think of that as the time for 55 minutes per week that you would meet with your whole learning community, and we would do things as far as like professional development. We get you connected with maybe your internships or resources on campus and off campus. That way you can be successful in whatever way. We build a lot of the skills that we talked about as far as like time management and procrastination and making, your self-image as far as like maybe we help you create an elevator pitch and things like that. And then we also sometimes have fun events. So recently we've done a lot of stuff with leadership this past semester and building our resume. And we've practiced interviews. So that way when students start applying for internships, they feel a little bit more prepared and they've already built those connections. So today actually it was really nice out and we took the students outside this whole week for each of the arts and science courses, and we had egg parachute competitions. So students got to do something a little bit fun, but during that activity, they're practicing a lot of the skills we talked about. They're practicing emotional intelligence, they're practicing their leadership skills and how to work with one another and how to plan something from start to finish and be successful. And then it was also just really nice because it was beautiful outside and they got to fight the wind and see, where their egg was going to land and if it was going to break. We also we make sure that you have connections with faculty, staff, and peers. So I mentioned you'd have a peer mentor through this program, which is someone who has done well academically. They've been involved on campus. They might have been in one of the programs themselves, and they're there to answer questions like maybe where is the best place to eat around the Newark campus? Where's the best place to study? They can take you and get a coffee on campus and chat about what's going on, or just, be there for any other thing. And they do help plan some of our events that we have on campus too. We engage in activities and experiences. So each of our learning communities have experiential trips, which are usually courses that are tied to either the mission program or the GE that they're taking during that semester. And we go off campus. So for one of our learning communities, just recently, 2 weeks ago, we went to the Newark Earthworks and we're able to see some of the mounds and learn about the history and how they were made, which was really exciting. Other times we've gone to Stone Lab. So I'll talk a little bit more about each of those trips during our individual slides, but a lot of fun things that you get to do with the peers in that program. And then again, our deadline's May 1st, so just keeping that in mind while I go through the next few slides. So our Buckeye Generation learning community, that is one of it's our longest learning community that we've had. It started in 2012 and it includes 60 first generation college students. So what that means is that neither biological parent could have received a bachelor's degree to be eligible for this program. So through this, we have benefits as far as one-on-one support and connections with faculty and staff through your major. Our BGLC isn't major specific, so we work with students on a more individual basis, but making sure that they have those connections. $500 academic scholarships towards academic textbooks, supplies, things that you might need. Most of the time, so we split that up 250 per semester. Most of the time, students are having remaining funds and they're able to purchase things within our bookstore that they might need. So I know some students had gotten some water bottles or tablets or things that were going to help them, kind of get through their day while they're on campus. And then support to the transition to the Columbus campus, if that's your plan. So this is one of the key things I like to stress with each of our learning communities is a lot of our students, some of you might stay on the Newark campus all 4 years, which is amazing, but not everyone does. So there is no clear, dotted line on how to navigate the Columbus campus. So through the learning communities, we make sure that that's possible. So whether it's connecting you specifically to your college, the advisors, we do a tour of the Columbus campus. We actually just went, I would say actually it was only 2 weeks ago, we went to the Columbus campus and we walked the campus. They got to eat in some of the dining halls and learn about the plans. They got to look at some of the housing because a lot of them are preparing to go there this fall after their first year. So making sure you have all of the connections and you're not always just, emailing the general email, hoping for a response in a timely manner. You're getting more of that personal one-on-one support. And then courses taken together. So I've discussed a little bit of that, but our students in the BGLC currently, which could change in the future, are taking a history of art course and then an anthropology course, which all goes towards most GEs, required for most majors. Our Scarlet and Gray Excellence Learning Communities, which started in 2018, it's really for students who are looking for a broader connection as far as building leadership skills, making connections on campus. A lot of our curriculum with the Scarlet and Gray Excellence Learning Community has um, we want them to understand different cultures and realities and things that are going on in the world. So right now they're taking an environmental science course while they were in the fall, and then they are taking a sociology course too, which again are both GEs. But through this program, again, you get one-on-one support. You have experiential trips on and off, or off campus as well. So this one specifically, I really enjoy. We take a trip in the fall every year to Stone Laboratory, which is over towards, if you all are familiar with Put-in Bay, up towards Lake Erie. There is a little, I think it's 6 acre island that Ohio State owns where we're able to travel there. We take a giant bus and we stay overnight. So this was one of my favorite programs to start working with just because the students had such a tight-knit community because they had that overnight experience. The trip's completely free to all of the students too, and you're all invited within that September timeframe. It's usually a Friday to Saturday night, and then we return Saturday night to campus. But students get on a boat, they get to go fishing. We have a bonfire. We all stay in some of the dorms there, and the meals are provided. So it's a really great trip if you do decide to apply for this program to be able to go on. And then peer mentors that plan social and cultural events. So we make sure inside that arts and science course that we're planning events that are helping you make connections on and off campus. We have a lot of different events as well that are across all of our learning communities. So for one, we do like an Images of Success event for our Scarlet and Gray Excellence Learning Community where we're connecting you with faculty and staff who have, been in your position. They've, gone through college. They share some of their stories, and it kind of gives you more of that personal one-on-one where you might be able to build a connection and use that person later for a recommendation letter or someone that you can, maybe find internships through. So we also do, like I mentioned, the cohort style classes. So you're taking those classes together. And through that, we know students who have that support in the classroom have higher GPAs and graduation rates. Again, with this program, you do have support to the Columbus campus and a similar scholarship, which is that $500 academic scholarship that I mentioned that is divided between both semesters for textbooks, supplies, and anything that you might need to be successful. And then next, we have our Global Citizens Learning Community. So this is another program that I will be overseeing this upcoming year. So this program started in 2020, so it's about 6 years old. We have 40 students, and we're looking for students who specifically have an interest in global citizenry, education abroad, learning about other cultures and things along that matter. We make sure our students are engaged in global experiences. So right now, they're actually doing a really cool course that was recently introduced to the Newark campus, but it is through our French and Italian department where students get to learn about other cultures, but they also get to work with students. Right now, they're working with students from Mexico and learning about, what's their day-to-day life like compared to ours and sharing those experiences. And then they all got to create a presentation and share that and what they've learned about each other. So they've really got to enjoy, hearing a little bit more about that and seeing what education in college is like from a different country. And then we do have joint activities with other countries around the globe. So we make sure, we've had in the past where we've joined other students from different countries and had conversations during our class time, which has really been exciting. Having that also support with education abroad because there is a priority consideration with that. And then having those courses together and an overnight experiential trip. So this upcoming year, we're still looking into different opportunities. But some of the ones that we've looked into is potentially going down to Mammoth Cave in Kentucky and doing an overnight trip and learning a little bit more about the history and culture because there's a lot of culture and history within that cave, but other trips as well that might be related to our Global Citizens Learning Community mission. And then support again to the Columbus campus. So now we'll go ahead and move more into our major specific ones. So the ones previously are open to all students outside of our first generation one, which is only open to first gen students. But these ones are all going to be specific to, you know, majors. So if any of these majors apply to you, please make sure that you're listening up and then also consider applying by that May 1st deadline. So some of our benefits with our education, teaching, learning community, you do get that one-on-one support through connections of faculty within the major. You are taking courses that are all necessary for you to graduate with an education degree. There are several, which you'll see in the bottom right corner, that we allow within the education, teaching, learning community, which is primary education, middle childhood education, and then kind of so on. So this program is a little bit smaller than our other ones. It is 30 students, and it did start in 2016, so it's about 10 years old. We do have an academic scholarship, which is $200. So again, that would be $100 divided between both semesters that you can use on those supplies. Most students find that that is definitely enough to be able to cover that, so it's not coming out of their own pocket. And then we do a lot of social and cultural events based off of that, and experiential trips with our education student or our students within the education major. And then workshops through our arts and science course. So that way you're learning those skills. You're learning, what works in a classroom, or maybe specifically you don't want to work in a classroom. Like, how are you going to apply your major to other jobs that you might be interested in? How to use, like our world language education, what type of jobs can you get with that? And then again, those courses that you'd be taking together. Next is our engineering learning community. So this is 40 pre-engineering students or engineering majors with high math ability. It did start in 2014. So with this program, you would have planned social and cultural events. It looks like this might actually, I don't know what happened with this slide. Um, this slide looks like it might be copied wrong, but I'll go ahead and just kind of go off of that. So the information on the left-hand side is not right, so please ignore that. But with our engineering learning community, you do have two courses that you take in the fall and spring semesters together. One of them that you take in the fall is our Engineering 1181 course, which is for students who are within that major that need that to graduate. The nice thing about it is we have a limited amount on most campuses, and when you're starting at the Newark campus, you're guaranteed enrollment in that within your first year. So you're able to get into your major and get transition to the Columbus campus a little bit quicker and start your major classes that you need. Engineering 1181 does have like an EXP component as well starting this fall, so you'll be able to get that out of the way and you won't have to take EXP like other majors. And you do take that same course with all the other students within the program, which is great. So then once you get out of that course in the spring semester, you take Engineering 1182. And again, you need both of those as prerequisites to get into any of your engineering courses outside of that and be able to make it to graduation. So with that, it is a huge bonus because a lot of times I will say in the summer when we might still be recruiting because we've had students make changes. Students are fighting to get into our engineering learning community just because of those courses and knowing that we do offer professional development. And we have a lot of companies come in and talk to students and help them, maybe decide if they want to join internships, or we've had shadowing opportunities. This past fall, we had individuals from EMH&T come out to our class, and they had such a great time with the students that they actually reached out to me personally and they said, hey, we really enjoyed talking to your students on a one-on-one environment. We'd love to have some of them come back and do shadowing opportunities where they can sit with one of our engineers and see what it is to be like, in that job for a day or a week or however long that they want to shadow for, and get more of those connections, which is a great opportunity if you think about it, because, while they get to shadow, they're also making that connection with that specific engineer who, maybe could be a job opportunity in the future. With our engineering learning community, we also do experiential trips off campus. So some of the things that we do, we go to the Center for Automotive Research. In the past, that we've also done we also will go to the Columbus campus, but we specifically tour the College of Engineering. This past year was really great because they got to talk to advisors, they got to talk to faculty, they talked to students, and got to learn about some of the projects they're working on and see some of the labs that they'd be working on or working in their next year. So this is a really great program if you're wanting to make sure you're having courses with like-minded individuals. In that arts and science course, that is the time for all 40 students to get together. And we do a lot of engineering related activities too, so you're kind of enhancing that. Our STEM M learning community started in 2025, so very new. We just got out of our first pilot year, but we have 50 first year students. That is going to be divided between two types of math sections, so it's about 25 and 25 students. So any student who is interested in science, technology, engineering, math, or medicine majors can start within this program as long as they're starting kind of at that lower level math. So the purpose of this program is we were seeing a lot of STEM M students not progress within their major because they weren't having that support starting in that math that they needed to start in for their major. So with this program, you have an advantage because you're building those connections early on and you're having people, in the same boat, starting in similar majors as you, faculty that have been through, um, their own careers and their own STEM M programming. So they're able to support you and make sure you get into the math courses that you need to be able to progress within your major. So it's a really great program to have, that support starting off. So building those connections with your major, building kind of that small cohort. So like I mentioned, there's 50 students in that, but you might be starting in Math 1050, which is our pre-college, or our Math 1075 course, and you're only going to have 25 students within that course and a faculty member that really cares about your success. You're taking that with peer tutors in the classroom, which is another huge benefit as we have embedded tutors that actually come from our other department I'll mention here, later on, but we work with them. They are trained specifically. They hear the material you're hearing and they are working, within the classroom with that faculty to make sure you're getting all the support. And then they're hosting tutoring sessions outside of that class that you're able to attend as well. Connecting students with experiential opportunities. So we actually had, I know, some individuals from STEM M related fields come this past fall. One was someone from children's, so we hosted a session for that. And then we have a few more coming up here before the end of the semester where students are able to attend and hear from some directors, potentially presidents, more about those jobs, what they're looking for, how they can build their resume, and just giving you a little extra boost as far as when you're putting that resume out. And then individual guidance and support from an academic peer coach, and then support to the transition to the Columbus campus. Our business learning community. So this one is actually going to be brand new, starting up this summer. So we are actively recruiting for this program. And I will say, this is the first time, we have had a program like this every single year when I'm at Buckeye Preview Days or admissions events. I always have, a few students come up and they're like, okay, do you have a learning community for a business major? And I'm like, oh, I don't. Now I can finally say yes. So if you're considering accounting, finance, marketing, logistics, entrepreneurship, management of any of that sort, this would be a really great program for you. So you're going to be able to have that more, major specific courses that you're going to be taking that are required for you to graduate. We are going to be connecting you with business professionals, potentially internships and shadowing opportunities similar to our engineering learning community. You'll still have that one-on-one support within the classroom and outside the classroom. You'll have a competitive edge. So we like to specifically mention this because, and I will go back kind of and say this about all of our learning communities, having learning community listed on your resume, even after graduation, I can say this personally because I've, gone through the hiring process. It looks really good because it's showing that you kind of immersed yourself early in your major or a program that has shown success. You were chosen for the program and selected out of applicants that have applied. And you've kind of advanced yourself as far as developing different skills, immersing yourself within your major and your career that you're interested in early on within it. So it looks really great on a resume. So that would even help for internships too, as far as careers. Courses taken together, and then we do a lot of individualized guidance. You'll still have those academic peer coaches that will be able to guide you through that. And we specifically look for students within that major. And then again, support for the Columbus campus as well. So that will be kind of my spiel on our learning communities, and then specifically the department I work with. That was a little bit of a tongue twister for me, but our Office of Retention and Student Success Initiative. So you can learn more by going to the link above or scanning this QR code. Our learning communities should be directed through there too, so you can find the application, but all of our applications are live, they're open, and we're definitely taking applications until May 1st. So now I'll go ahead and ask Ginger to go to the next slide, and we'll go ahead and start talking about some of our other support services. So while I do not work directly with this department, we do a lot of work together. So our academic support services have kind of roundabout care as far as like providing tutoring. So we have our math learning center, so supporting all of your math courses and tutors that are really highly qualified. Dr. Weaver, who is the director for this program, his information will be listed on one of these slides, is someone who is going above and beyond looking for tutors in the all through the summer up until fall semester and even sometimes in the spring semester to make sure that he's getting the best students that are coming in or students that are returning to be able to support you with math. That goes too with Writer Studio. So I refer a lot of students to our Writer Studio because they do so much. They can help you with, knowing how to do Chicago style, knowing how to write an APA format, even just reviewing a paper before, submitting it because maybe your last paper didn't go so well and you want to make sure that this one you've done better and you've had someone review it. Or maybe you just want to keep improving it. I've even sent students there too when they've wrote cover letters and they want to just have someone review and see how it sounds and if it's formatted correctly, but they do a wide array of things that they can support you with. And then our tutoring center, so academic support for any of the other courses, there is a list online. So once you become a student here, you can see what other courses they offer tutoring for. And there's a lot, and they'll have the specific times on there as well. I know there are sometimes virtual options too. So with that, our tutoring center, I know in the past, if a student does not see a class that is listed on there, they can specifically reach out to Dr. Weaver or someone through the tutoring department and potentially request to see if they could find a tutor to help with that subject. And they have honored that in the past, which is great. That doesn't often happen a lot just because we do have a huge amount of courses that are covered through the tutoring center, but it is there when you need it. And then our testing center, so this might be somewhere where you take a placement test. It could be makeup test. Maybe you're sick on exam day unexpectedly and you're able to schedule a makeup test. And accommodated testing can also be done there too. So if you need accommodations or you've had accommodations through high school, having that same support and being able to go somewhere else where it might be quieter, or maybe you get extra minutes. Like I know for me, in college, I had bad texting anxiety, specifically for math. It was not a strong subject for me. So when it came to, hearing pencils hit the table or papers shuffle or students starting to walk up and turn it in and then leave class, I would start rushing and not thinking straight. So having a space like this on campus where I can be able to fully like pay attention to the paper and make sure I'm getting everything answered fully was something I really needed specifically for that math course. So all of our support services are face-to-face on the second floor. We do offer that embedded. So I mentioned like with our STEM N program, we have tutors within the classroom there to support you. We do that as well as outside of like other learning community classes. You might have an embedded tutor in some of the courses that you take at Newark. And the most importantly, it is free. So I do say too, like we are all here to support you. We know again, and I will say it over and over again, we know students who are going to tutoring are often the students who are going to be successful, who are really wanting to make the most out of their academics here and have that additional support so that way they can make, a stronger grade. Students who are going to these services usually do have those higher GPAs and graduation rates when it comes down to the end of it because they are taking the extra step to make sure that they are getting what they need out of their academics here. So, our academic support services, this is the QR code for the website. The link is also listed above. And I do believe the contact information should be on the next slide. So if you have any specific questions, you can also reach out there too. So again, contact information for both offices. I mentioned Dr. Weaver's email is right there. It looks like office phone number. And then again, the second floor of the Warner Center, which is that library area. And then we are actually in a different building. We're in Hodges Hall 1120 for the office I work for. So there's our contact information. We also do have a text line and we do encourage all students to sign up for that text number too. So if you text that, once you're a student here, we can answer some of those questions. We can set up appointments for you, whatever you need, if you prefer that over giving us a call. And then There's our website, and I know Academic Support Services was on the previous website as well. So, but thank you all. That is all the information I had to share, and then I will go ahead and turn it over to Ginger.
Okay. I didn't see anything in the Q&A, Ashley, but you might just want to double check to make sure as I go ahead with mine. So as I said, I'm Ginger Williams Carr. I am one of the admissions counselors here at Newark. So I'm just going to kind of talk about some things coming from our office as we're kind of getting close to some of these deadlines. So timelines for admitted students, as you can see, that first one has pretty much already passed. Wednesday was the deadline for Lefever's Fellows Program, the Honors Program, and Scholarship Universe. One thing I do want to say about Scholarship Universe is that some of the scholarships that are in there, the deadline was not April 15th. The deadline was to get enrolled in Scholarship Universe. So you might want to just double check to make sure if your student has started applying for those scholarships to make sure that they meet those deadlines so they don't miss out on the money that's available to them. Next Saturday, April 25th, we are hosting a Buckeye Preview Day. If you have not had a chance to come to campus to meet with some of our campus partners, to get a tour, those type of things, that is going to be available. You can go to our website and go to visits. And you can sign up for that. If you missed the deadline to sign up, you are more than welcome to walk in. We do take walk-ins as well. The big date coming up for a lot of students is April 28th, which is for the housing lottery. We only have 307 beds on campus. So we have a lottery system for that, and I'll explain a little bit more of that here in just a minute. As Ashley has said numerous times, May 1st is the application date for their learning communities. It is also Decision Day. Decision Day doesn't mean as much for our regional campus as it does for the Columbus campus. But that means that you have to have your decision made, your money paid to go to those campuses. For our regional campus, you can come here. You don't have to make your decision until closer to orientations. However, please note that there are some things that you do have to have your money paid for and your acceptance fee paid for by that May 1st deadline. Like, for example, if you want access to the football tickets, you have to have that decision done by May 1st. And then our first orientation is May 26th. I will tell you the May 26th and May 27th orientations are already full. One thing about orientations, your student needs to be checking their Buckeye mail because orientation emails have been sent there, and they do need to be checking that for lots of different things. But one of the things that I have been getting a lot of here in our office is I can't find the link to orientation. If you are trying to find the email or the link to orientation on your phone, you're probably not going to find that link on your phone. So you probably are going to have to use a desktop or a laptop in order to schedule your orientation from. Please make sure that when you schedule your orientation, it is a date that you can come to, because if you do the wrong date and you're trying to get back in later, we cannot guarantee that you can get into the date that you wanted to get into. So please make sure when you're scheduling, you are getting the dates that you want to have. Orientations are a half day, so you can have a morning or an afternoon session. So again, kind of what I was going on to, please, 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 students need to be checking their Buckeye mails and their Buckeye links because there's lots of things coming out here lately that are very important information. The orientation email is there. Housing information is there. If you're wanting housing on campus, there's an application form that has to be filled out, as well as a $350 deposit for that. And if you're not checking emails, you're not getting that information. If you haven't paid your $100 acceptance fee, you need to go to the App Center in order to do that. And again, you're paying that online. Check your Buckeye link. Your Buckeye link is changing all the time. It changes after you pay your acceptance fee. Right. Once you pay your acceptance fee, your math placement test will show up there. I will say that the English placement tests are probably not going out until at least May 1st, because we are still trying to get English placement tests for summer students. You do have a pre-orientation class that'll be in Carmen Canvas. That is also not going to probably be posted until after May 1st. So if you're getting there and you're not finding those things, that's why. So just keep checking those often. Everything on your to-do list does need to be completed before you come to orientation. And again, you want to try to have like those placement tests done a week ahead of time so that they have time to score them before you show up for your orientation date. Again, reminder to register and attend your orientation, and those emails should be found. They're going out, I think, every 2 weeks to keep reminding you if you have not signed up for that. Ashley already talked a lot about the different things and ways to get involved on campus. But we do have over 30 clubs and organizations that you can get involved in besides the learning communities. We have both academic and college experiences that you can get involved in. Community service, our Lefevre Fellows is a community service-based organization. We have intramural sports here on campus. Those kind of depend on what the students are interested in. Typically, we do have like the volleyball, the basketball, soccer, pickleball is really big right now. But then it also depends on what our kids are interested in while they're on campus as to what other activities we have available at the time. There's other things, various things to do. You don't have to live on campus to be involved in these things. Again, during Valentine's Day, they had like you could make a stuffed animal. The other night they had a flag football tournament. So there's lots of things to get involved in. But you don't have to live on campus to be involved. I'm in charge of our Buckeye guides, who are the tour guides on campus, and they're constantly pushing things out. Hey guys, this is going on tonight. Come see us here and have fun with us. So we are a tight-knit community here on campus, and everybody is involved and everybody is accepted and invited to those things. The pathway to your degree. Complete your degree at the Newark campus. We have 7 majors that you can start and finish here on the Newark campus. Business management is tied in with that new business learning community. Primary education, again, there's a learning community for that. We also have English, our engineering technology, as well as the business one. Those are only found on the regional campuses. So you cannot do those on the Columbus campus. You can only do the business management and engineering technology on the regional campuses, which Newark is a regional campus. You can complete your history degree here, your psychology and social work degrees. Our average class size is about 28 students to a professor. Some of our largest classes are only about 60 students compared to 200 to 300 students on the Columbus campus. Again, tying back in with what Ashley had mentioned previously, our faculty wants to have our students be successful. So we remind students about that testing center, about the math tutoring, about the writer's lab, those type of things, because we want our students to be successful while they're here on campus. Our faculty is also committed to a lot of research. The nice thing with having a small campus is that freshmen can start with research and internships as early as their freshman year. So we want to get those students involved into those things to make them be a more rounded person, to be a leader, and to be successful on campus. We've mentioned transitioning to Columbus. We do not call it transferring because you are an Ohio State student. So you're just going to campus change or transition from Newark to Columbus. You have to complete 30 hours after high school graduation, and that should be Ohio State hours, credit hours. You have to receive a minimum of a 2.0 GPA. Now, that 2.0 GPA guarantees you a seat on the Columbus campus. It does not necessarily guarantee you a spot into a major that you're trying to get into. We have some very competitive majors on the Columbus campus, excuse me. And some of them require a higher GPA than that 2.0. So when you are working with your academic advisor while you're here, they will help remind you of those things. to make sure that you can get into that degree that you're wanting to get into, that program that you're wanting to get into on the Columbus campus. And then they will help you complete that campus change process. The nice thing about Newark is we are the closest to the Columbus campus. And again, we make that smooth transition to Columbus. Because we are just campus changing, there's no new admissions application, no extra fees. Then other nice thing is while you are here at Newark, you are an Ohio State student. So you still have access to everything that's on the Columbus campus, with the exception of the RPAC. The RPAC is included in the Columbus tuition. It is not included in Newark's tuition, but if you want to use that facility, you can pay the extra fee to be involved in that. But you can be involved in intramurals and club sports. You can be involved in clubs and activities on the Columbus campus just by being a Newark student. We actually have 6 students on the Newark campus right now that are members of the marching band. So you can be here as well as on the Columbus campus. You're able to graduate from the shot or the shoe, depending on if it's fall or winter or spring when you're graduating. Again, I mentioned you'd have all the access to those resources. And as long as you have that acceptance fee paid by that May 1st deadline, you will have access to football tickets. So that's about it for us because like I said, we're kind of wrapping up our season here to get students here for the fall. If you have any more questions, our office phone number is 740-366-9344, or you can always reach out to us at the Newark Ask a Buckeye. And then our website is newark.osu.edu. You can find the applications that Ashley was talking about for the learning communities there, as well as the scholarship universe. If you have not yet finished up those scholarships, you can find those on the website as well. Were there any other questions, Ashley, in the Q&A?
I didn't see any come up.
If anybody has any more questions, please, you'll add those so that we can get those answered for you. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording while we're waiting on those.